All right, folks. Thank you for joining me tonight. While I adjust the microphone to my lapel. All right, thank you for joining me tonight. We're gonna have a nice long video with a lot of talking. Got a lot of interesting stuff to cover. If a lot of talking is kind of boring and not your cup of tea, you may want to bail out right now. But to everybody else, especially new subscribers and you curious YouTubers that kind of sneak over from my other videos, what we have here literally is a national treasure. It's a O-scale national treasure. It's a O-scale national heirloom. About less than 20 of these were made. We approximate, people who know the subject, this model here, this kit was probably sold or offered for sale probably like around 1934. So you're looking at a model that's about 90 years old, guys. Hasn't run in many years. She came into my shop pretty much destroyed, squashed and banged up, and we've fixed her up, got her a new paint job. We'll apply some decals and lettering tonight over the next few days. She runs good. We'll get her all squared away and running down the track once again here pretty soon. This has been a full restoration right here at the Florentino Rebuilding YouTube, Florentino Rebuilding Company YouTube channel. Right here in your outpost on the West Coast in sunny Southern California. God damn, I hope they catch that little rabbit pretty soon, man, because these guys sound hungry. All right, let's cut the music out. Anyways, the stuff we're going to be covering tonight is probably boring to most normal human beings. But we're going to be covering decals and kind of stuff to watch out for. This is not a decal tutorial where I'm going to show you how to decal step by step. All my videos are not like that. I cover the process once I'm done, and I'll share highlights of the stuff I come across. If you want to watch good decaling videos on how to become a good decaler, doesn't matter if it's armor, airplanes, trains, regardless of the size or gauge or scale. There's plenty of wonderful and talented men and women right here on YouTube, our fellow YouTube modeling colleagues, who have wonderful, in-depth, perfectly produced in terms of video production, entertaining videos on how to correctly apply decals to your models. I am not that guy. But anyways, let's check out what we got here. So how are we gonna start this? Man, I got a lot of stuff to say. I never script these. I just run my mouth off as the camera starts shooting, and this particular video, at this particular case right now, is no exception. All right, let's do this. The beautiful and wonderful decal sheets that Microscale provided. I mean, they're gorgeous, no doubt about it. This is the way to go. Beautiful artwork, beautiful gold leathering and decals and numbers and corners and round corners and oddball round corners and number boxes and various sizes and pinstripes of gold and silver and white of all sizes together. What a wonderful set. It even includes your boxes, where you can call them number boards for right now, just for the sake of the video speeding things along. They give you different sizes. Here's some more sizes, and this is the one I settled that we were going to use. So I went ahead and broke my own rule, didn't do any measuring or pre-planning. I thought I was cool and get this ready to shoot for the next video, and I screwed up. But I didn't really screw up because like I've always said, I kind of sometimes almost welcome making mistakes here and at my job where I make a living, because I love figuring out where I went wrong and how to make this process better. I literally do that all the time just to keep myself, my brain working, the juices flowing, so to speak. I attached that score number board to the side. This side, engineer side of the cab, it was too small. It wasn't long enough. So this thing only covered partial of what the real Pennsylvania Railroad, this number box. I'll show you a picture of it right now on the computer. The real one, it runs from the side of the window here to the complete end of the other window here as a long box, and then the numbers go inside the middle there. This one was way too short. I had already applied it, it had already dried. I do have a process that I came up with that I love, how to take your decals off. I'm not going to share that process. That's my process, my secret techniques. Maybe others here will share that process with you. But I'm able to take the decals off. You slightly scuff the paint. You just shoot a gloss coat over the paint, and it looks good as new without having to paint again. But in this case, was it my locomotive? And I'm actually very, very proud. This has become my baby. I'm not the owner. The owner contacted me, asked if I was willing to do some work on this model for him, which of course I said yeah. That's why the model's here before us today. But it has become, how could I not get attached to her? I mean, remember how she looked when she came in? You grow an attachment to them, and when they leave your shop, me and Ed Campbell, the late Ed Campbell, always used to say, and we both agreed because we were both painters. He painted for customers way back in the day. I think he would do painting for the Whistle Stop up in Pasadena back in the 80s before Fred Hill bought it. And I did my painting here for my customers and stuff down at the museum in San Diego and all over the country, and did some painting for overseas and Canada and stuff like that. But we had just met, we started talking, and we both came to the same conclusion. When these things leave our shop, they literally take a little bit of your soul with them. And then by that I mean, when these things leave my shop, my life expectancy at the end has been cut short by a year or two or whatever it took to put things together. Absolutely. The stress, the headaches, the not sleeping, you're thinking, oh, did I mess up? Oh, how am I going to do that? They literally become your babies, and you don't want to ship out a piece of crap to a customer. You want him to receive what you would want to receive. So that means you got to give your heart, mind, and soul and a lot of love to these models. I am not in a sense, I'm not building and painting this for the owner, for John. And John is not having this done for himself. When you realize the historical significance of this piece here that landed in my shop somehow, we're doing it for now the hobby, for the ages, forever. For 100 years from now, this thing will be in a museum somewhere, and someone will say, this was restored to pristine condition you see today 100 years ago by a fellow out named Florentino Rebuilding Company. We never knew his real name, that's all he went by. And the original owner, Mr. John, he was a perfection. He wanted just beautiful looking models, and they collaborated and blah, blah. That's what I'm shooting for. And also what I'm shooting for is actually Ed Alexander himself. Ed Alexander was a pioneer from the early dark days of O-Scale. And he had a vision, and he offered these beautiful kits, man. Look at that. He would offer it built up, ready to run on your layout. He'd offer it in kit form with some pieces already machined, or he would offer you just plain kit form with nothing machined. And as a matter of fact, let's talk about that right now. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of talking. This is going to be a 2-part video probably, or one big giant long hour-long episode. I've never done one of those before. I got a lot to say on this subject, especially when we talk the subject of which I'm pretty damn good at. I'm actually very proud of painting and building and stuff. So Okay, so like I said, if talking is not your thing, you may want to bail out right about now. Let's pick some more music here.
Hey, did you know you might get a big cash payout?
Let's let the commercials play out.
Yep. Even if
There we go. No, you can't play any Glenn Miller on your YouTube videos. He really, or the heirs of the Glenn Miller estate really protect his works, and they should, rightly so. You will get dinged immediately, and your videos will not be seen only a few countries, literally around the world. Ask me how I know. But anyways, so Ed Alexander, 1934. Here's an example. Here's some writings, and I'll show you guys. So he offered finished, complete locomotive out of the box, ready to run on your layout for $125. 1934, $125, or a complete machine construction kit, where you just pretty much you put it together, but all the parts have been machined for you, for $66. Once again, $1934, or a complete construction kit that was unmachined, so you got to do all the hard work, all the filing, all the machining, stuff like that to get the pieces to fit and stuff, for only $38. So let me read a little bit from this is from the Ed Alexander catalog from, I believe, 1936 or 37, actually, and it says that up there. So this is the visionary. This is what he was seeing as O-Scale started to grow, and he saw a need for equipment and kits and where it was going. Along with the increasing popularity of the hobby, many new supply houses have sprung up. Many new materials have been adopted. Many cheaper methods of construction have been introduced. We too are constantly experimenting with new materials and construction shortcuts which will enable us to reduce prices, but we will under no circumstances adopt such measures at the sacrifice of performance or quality. Model railroading is still in its infancy. There it is, man. Model railroad is still in its infancy. 1936, 37, and this is the guy right here. This is his product, one of his products. Model railroading still in its infancy in this country, a new and fascinating hobby that offers dual enjoyment, the pleasure of construction and the thrill of operation. We have played an important part of popularizing scale model railroading to date, and we will play a major part in its future development based on quality. Signed, A.P. Alexander, President. And so why would I do a half-ass job building this sucker and a half-ass job painting it and sending it off to a real good O-Scale friend now and say, hey, here's your model, only for him to have that half-ass thing sitting on his fireplace mantle? And then we took a model that was almost 100 years old, and 100 years now from then, 200 years later, someone's going to sit down and say, well, here's an Ed Alexander 440. You could see way back in the day, this stuff was just, these things were just pieces of shit. Yeah, do you think I want that stuck to my name? You think the owner, John, wants that? No, man. We honor the name and the idea and the legacy of Ed Alexander and his company and the gentlemen who worked in his shop. And we'll talk about those in a little bit here. But no sirree. Me and John talk about this. You don't think those gentlemen are up in heaven right now watching what we're doing here? They can't wait to see. Yeah, okay, we'll do my video part here and we'll ship it out in the finale and all that good stuff, and we'll hit it with lights and music and fireworks and a big band playing and all that good stuff, you know, with dancing monkeys and naked ladies doing hula hoops and all that good stuff. But you know what? I think we all want to see, and Ed Alexander and his boys, his crew from his shop, We want to see when John opens the box on the East Coast and sees his locomotive for the first time. So this really means a lot to the old school community if you're into the historical part of it, if you know, familiar with this here. If you're a Mike's Train House guy and only Mike's Train House guy, this may not make sense, and you're probably gonna unsubscribe from my channel. But hey, you know what? I'm trying to teach you guys a little class here, man. Give me a freaking break. But anyways, here's some pictures of what the finished product could look like. Beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Here's a wonderful picture of a fellow O-Scale colleague who sent me a picture, or sent John sent to me a picture of, I guess, one of his collection. Here's a picture straight out of the catalog of what these babies look like when they're done. This is gonna be a good video. Stick around. It's gonna be a long video, but you know what? I got a good vibe about this one. When I get that good vibe, yeah, it's gonna be a fun, cool video. Put your tools down. Go get a cup of coffee. Tell your wife you're gonna get to bed late tonight. This is our time, boys, ladies, and gentlemen. We're the only ones in the world that can understand what we're talking about and what we're sharing here. And we're gonna dork out tonight and become train nerds again. This is what we're into. This is our social media. This is our Facebook. This is our Super Bowl. So let me share some pictures with you. Now, one of our fellow O-Scalers sent a picture of the drive shaft set up to John, and John sent it to me because we did have to put a new drive shaft to get this guy running. Because there's a beautiful picture of the headlight. Because on this particular model, if you guys aren't familiar, the electric motor that runs this model is not in the locomotive, but rather it's in the tender. So you get power from the tender to the locomotive, so you could drive those wheels over there. Excuse me. Anyways, alrighty. So we cut our decal out. Very, very, very important. So you're gonna use 2 of those square decals just to make one box. It's a sacrifice. Nothing you could do about it. Pretty much decaling, you're gonna be doing a lot of sacrifices to make your decals correct throughout your career if you proceed to go forward with painting and decaling your own equipment, which I highly, highly recommend because it's so spiritually rewarding. Anyways, cut one set of decals, cut the corner off, cut the end off, apply your decal where you want it, cut a second get in my hand square or decal, also of a nice length, because you're going to apply this to that. I'm going to apply it with in this case we will probably use microset a little bit, or just plain water, because what we're going to do is we're going to apply it over this. This has to be dry, bone dry. Okay, so wait a couple hours, because once you put water or micro scale decal setting solution or your Solvaset, you'll be able to move it around to the length you want, match up your pinstripes so it doesn't look, so you don't notice the seam, and then apply your Solvaset or your decal setting solution of your choice, what you're comfortable with, and then position it just right, start letting it dry, keep an eye on it so it doesn't walk away, because it'll walk away on you if you don't do things right. Make sure your surface is level, you didn't put too much water, stuff like that, so you don't have the decal walking away from you. And when you're done, you got it right in position. Get a cloth or a paintbrush with nice big bristles on it, and touch what's that called? Not leaching. Well, I guess we'll call it leaching for right now, because I can't remember the correct word. But apply it to where there's a lot of decal setter solution or water buildup, so it could leach onto the brush and away off the decal. You want the decal to have the decal setting solution underneath it, not on top all blobbed all over, because then she'll walk away on you as she's drying, and you'll come up with crooked decals. So yeah, let's make this a nice long video, guys. So with a brand new cell phone camera, man, I'm like a proud papa right now. But we're gonna do that right now, as a matter of fact. Okay, so we're gonna keep talking as I soak these decals, and I gotta wait for all the film to come out. If you're gonna be putting decals over black or real dark paint jobs, you definitely gotta wait for me. You definitely want to and this is important as I try to correct the decal in my hand that came off in the water when I was blabbing and yapping away, but it's just water, so it doesn't affect the decal whatsoever. Okay, alrighty, so I'll dunk it in the water again, let all that excess glue get away from the decal when you're applying decals on black or real dark colors, because if you got excess glue from the decal itself, the decal printing process, because they have a little bit of glue underneath them, that will seep out and puddle on the corner of your decal somewhere, and when it starts to dry, it'll dry in a foggy color. If you get that in your decals, that's what's going on. You didn't let all the glue work away from the decal. Okay, I think we're almost there. Let's set the camera aside. I may block your view, but because we're applying this directly on the model on live TV, so to speak, I'm really going to be involved here, what's going on here, so I'm not going to be paying attention to the viewfinder. If I block your view for a second, I apologize ahead of time, but here we go, guys. Okay, so let's move the camera on the other side then, so we don't have to worry about blocking the view. All right, this is not the way I do it. I don't work standing up behind a tripod like I'm doing right now. I work sitting down, you know, paying attention. But since we're on TV tonight, it's gonna have to work for us this way. Did I say this is going to be a long, boring video? Yeah, this is what I mean. Today we'll use water. Now this decal is completely dry, so the water will not lift up that decal as I'm trying to position this one. So most people use brush. You use a real nice fine brush like this. Sometimes I use a toothpick. Sometimes I use a cotton Q-tip, like for the ears. Sometimes I'll use so right about here. We may get this in the first shot, but remember, if you don't, you can reposition, because you didn't use anything harsh. You're just using plain water right now, or distilled water in our case, and toothpick would have been fine right here. We'll have to use this for right now. There you go. We're bringing it in a little bit towards the camera. It was a little too wide. There we go. So if you're gonna get into painting and decaling and stuff, especially if you can do it like a little side business to fund your hobby, this is what your nights, your Friday nights, your Saturday nights are gonna be like. Just silence. You can have video playing in the background and stuff, but you'll be doing this till like 1:30 in the morning, Beautiful, beautiful. I think we got it right there. So right there, I'm happy right where that is. Now I can come back and use my Solvaset and just start. I'd love to brush it on, but I don't want to move. Normally I would if it was a decal by itself, but in this case, because now the Solvaset with microscale decals, remember how I told you it will destroy your microscale decals because we thin it down with water here. She won't destroy the decal, but she will dissolve, the Solvaset will dissolve the decal onto the paint. In other words, glue it onto the paint. We'll let this dry a little bit and then we'll talk about other stuff. The reason why my video is going to be real long with a lot of talking today is because I want to do the decal process for you on camera. I'm going to show you the completed results on the other side, but this side has to be dry. I already did the other side. It looks great. Trust me, you want to stick around for that. And so while we're waiting for things to dry or sort of dry, we got to use up time, right? So that's what we do a lot of talking on today's particular video. So the decal doesn't walk away on us. Let's go ahead and start sucking up all this excess here. And you're not seeing as I take the brush off of your view, the camera view. What I'm doing is I'm drying it off or blotting it off on my on my hoodie, my sleeve of my hoodie I'm wearing right now. You could do it on your napkin or your cover that you're resting the model on. Because if you don't wipe out that excess, the decal will start to walk on you when you're not looking at it. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. We'll let that dry. You're always going to see seam or where the two decal sheets come together. There's nothing you can do about that. Take your time and make it look, minimize it as much as you can, because when the model's completely done, she's going to look like $1,000,000. Trust me. You can go with a microscope all over the model and see imperfections, but it's just the way it is. Either that or have your own big squares printed out. So this is completely dry. This is in the process of shrinking and getting dissolved onto the paint. We're not going to touch it anymore. So that's why it looks odd to different shades or colors. They'll dry uniformly onto each other. We'll apply the number 1223 on there, and then we'll hit it with a clear coat. We won't do that tonight, but I already did it on the other side for you guys. And trust me, she came out fantastic. So let's do a little bit more talking. No, let's show you guys some pictures here. All right. Blah 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 blah. Okay, let's do this. There's another shot of our locomotive number 1223. So right there underneath the cab, you kind of can see the long box we're talking about. Now this particular model, it was this particular real steam locomotive, the one you see in front of you in the picture, the one that belongs to the Pennsylvania Railroad. Doesn't look like it ever got retired, so she went through many different variations of all that striping. In this particular case, you can see some sort of writing, like some sort of centennial or anniversary date underneath the number boards. I'm calling them number boards. Underneath those, obviously we won't be doing that to ours. but if the owner John wanted something like that done, yeah, absolutely. Well, he's the customer and he wants this done, and if I can do it, I'll do it for him. A lot of times if I see it's just going to look kind of weird, I'll let the client know ahead of time. And I hate using that word client or customer because it's not the case in O-Scale. I'll let my fellow colleague, the owner of this locomotive, have me do the work, and him being an O-Scaler, a modeler, he'll know what I'm talking about. And for instance, the pilot, front pilot of the real one right there, that's a pretty fancy pilot, and it don't look nothing like ours. But we'll get that top pinstriping here on the what do you call that part again? What it's called, the beam of the pilot, and the actual cow catcher part. Our flues run up and down, where the ones on the real one has metal straps going across, or bar stock. So right here we're gonna have to fudge and take some liberties, artistic license, and the owner knows that, and so we'll play along with that. It shouldn't be no issue. She'll look great when she's done. I do have some little questions or problems I want to run by the owner of this locomotive real quick and share with you guys. And yeah, communication with whoever you're doing the work for is paramount. So have that open line of communication. Before internet, email and stuff, I used to do this with phone calls. You know, we all did. All of us are painters, not just me. I'm not just, I popped out of the ground all of a sudden being a painter. Nah, there's people before me that showed me the ropes. And another thing I'm noticing on our cab, and I'll talk to John about this, is he's got pinstripes around his door openings on the front of the cab. We are going to add that to this guy here. That's no problem. I think that looks pretty cool. John wanted his bell polished nice and brass. We went ahead and did that. He's also asking for lighting on his model. We're going to go ahead and do that. I got to find the correct light bulbs for this guy here, so I got to go online and get those. But you see this window sash here? It's painted like a orangey type red. I'm going to ask John if he would like that on his model. I think it looks good. Looks classy, just like this, but I also think she would really look interesting, although they're not the correct windows for that. There's a style, okay, that's a Pennsy, I won't say Pennsy style, but that's definitely something you would see on a Pennsy, and these are not. So once again, you throw realism up in the air using your artistic license, because you got a vision of what you want in terms of the model you paid for, you bought, you fell in love with, and you send it off to someone you know is going to do a good job. So you both smile and chuckle and say, yeah, that'll look great. So that's just something I'm throwing out there to John Line. I could have called you. Oh, John, I got a new phone. Oh, I lost a lot of numbers. If you could text me, that way at least I'll have your phone or a call. That'd be fantastic. At your convenience, sir, at your leisure. Simple text would be great. That way I'll have your number. Any of you other guys, fellow colleagues, modelers and stuff, same thing applies to you guys. If I have your number and we're always talking, go ahead and text me so I'll have your number again. If you guys want to talk, I love talking models and building and stuff. If you guys want to just talk, let me know in the comment section. Yeah, I'll give you my number. You know, I think I had it. Well, these are my old business cards, so I got new business cards. Or no, I gotta have new business cards made. So that number is not good anymore. But this is a business, so yeah, you gotta use your address, email, and all that stuff. Gotta give it out. No, it's not a secret, Pentagon secret. All right, so right there you see that square box, the one we're calling number board, under the side of the cab with the numbers applied. You see the length of the box as opposed to how it comes from microscale decals. And then if John wanted that window sash painted that orangey red or reddish orange, we can do it, and if not, that's cool too. Let me see, what else can I show you guys? Now, you may not be doing this for someone else. You may be doing this just for yourself. You're still going to go through all these pictures. You're still going to talk to yourself out loud like I'm doing right now. It's just part of the hobby. And it's actually pretty good because it keeps you from going nuts. Trust me. All right, once again, look at that picture there. Well, this picture is interesting because we do see that large, what we're calling a number box with the numbers inside, the orangey red window sash, the kind of different type window than what we have here. Something to keep in mind, you know. I'm taking you all over the place. Yeah, all that is I'm into armor, love armor, models and stuff. Got more trains here. Some of these are from the Ed Campbell collection. Some beautiful Russian armor I got there with photo etch fenders and all that good stuff. Just this is a model building workshop. One day I'll give you guys a tour. But anyways, there's our tender, and here's where we're gonna run into some questions. And I want to share how I'm gonna do the questions through YouTube. So John's gonna hear on the other end, and he'll get back to me down the road here. But it could be done with a phone call or through text or in person and stuff. But this is what you're gonna run into a lot, especially if you're doing work for somebody else. Weird little things like what we've been asking out loud here. You see the tender on the real one there? It's just a big square box. On our Ed Alexander one, we have this portion of the tender juts up, extra sheet metal, and comes back down, which is a typical railroad tender, let's say USRA design that we all envision in our heads, cartoons, comic books, you know, old Western movies and stuff. The Pennsy in this particular model here had just it was straight all the way across. I have two examples of both here in brass and in O scale, and I'm going to share with you guys what I'm talking about. There is our Ed Alexander tender. So the one on the screen I just showed you doesn't have this part, this here. It's just a square box going all the way across. So to decal it, we're going to have to get creative, or slightly creative, or just slightly modify what we're going to do, because the real one doesn't have this portion up here. The real one, the Ed Alexander, should have had that tender right there. It's a brass sunset tender, I believe. It's just a square all the way across. This matches that, right? So I marked in yellow, John, I think I did this last time, or I don't know if I did it on the videos that I shit canned, but I marked in yellow. I'll send you still pictures, John, but real quick for our video YouTube watchers here, we could decal the tender exactly like the photograph. Represented in yellow tape here, and just leave this top extension black the way it is. It's no big deal. And then I'll apply the inner pinstripes, the square, let's call it a square, where in this case it was a number board. Here we'll call it a big square letter board with the word Pennsylvania, not Pennsylvania Railroad, just Pennsylvania, sitting square in the middle of it. Or we could omit that top stripe, which would look weird, honestly. Or there's another Pennsylvania Railroad, and I'll show you photographs. John, I'll actually text you the photograph, where I think it's another small Pennsy steamer sitting in the same museum, probably one track over or in front of this one here, where they have the same striping here, only up here they went ahead and put pinstripes in that square sheet metal space. I believe I can do that for you. It would look cool. It would actually look a little bit elaborate, but it would fit what we're trying to do here perfectly. I'd have to look at the decal sheets carefully and get back to you if I can do it with satisfactory results. And I got a feeling I could. It's just because they're double pinstripes. we could do maybe a single pinstripe or double pinstripes that are those pinstripes where they're together, pressed together, but you don't want to do double pinstripes where there's a space in between, because we don't have a lot of room to work with here, if that makes any sense. All right, guys, our decal is slowly starting to dry, so let's just wait a little bit more. While we're waiting, we're not going to apply the numbers tonight. That would take way too much time. Why we're waiting is because if I rub up against that slightly, or against a towel or something, you'll ruin it. You'll ruin it 100% complete. I'll cuss a storm out. Let's let it get nice and dry before we flip it over and show you guys the completed results. Now, all right, Florentino Rebuilding Company, god damn it, you talk too much. Holy smokes, don't you ever shut up. Well, I got lots of stuff to say, man. Do you want to know why Ed Alexander, real name Edwin P. Alexander, who not only was a pioneer of our O-scale equipment, but also was an avid railroad author, magazines, news articles, and actual railroad books? Edwin P. Alexander. Let me look at my decal here up close. I didn't touch it, did I? I did not. She just drying. Well, you keep drying, sweetheart. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. We're in that stage where they start to shrink and they get all crinkly and you panic. But then when they dry, they spread out and everything's all right. But a lot of times, man, you feel like pooping in your pants when you see that. Oh, jeez. Anyways, why was Ed Alexander such a prolific, Mr. Knowledgeable? I am too, or let's read a little bit of the history. Well, Ed had many relatives, and he had a lot of relatives living in and around Philadelphia. And guess what? He visited them frequently. While there, he usually made a trip. Well, there was a method to his madness. I'm pretty sure the reason he visited his relatives in Philadelphia frequently, because while there, he usually made a trip down to the nearby Baldwin Locomotive Works plant at Eddystone. He went down there, checked. This is the part I love. This reminds me of me at my job, how I'm able to get through all these high security buildings and places and stuff. While there, he went to go see his good friend, Mr. C.C. Elms. Mr. C.C. Elms was the head of the erecting shop. Now, over the course of several years, Ed had the ability to see a variety of just completed locomotives. And on one visit in 1934, now, Ed walked into the shop and saw the first GG1. That's right. The first GG1 was getting ready for its unveiling. And because Mr. Ed Alexander knew Mr. C.C. Elms had the erecting shop, he said, sure, go on in. Go check out what's behind that big roll-up door. First GG1, number 4899, which was later renumbered number 4800, and also known as Old Rivets. He got to see it in an unoccupied bay, painted, striped, and lettered. He took that opportunity like the rest of us would have. There was no cell phones. We could take pictures and digital cameras. He could start taking measurements of it. Nah, he did it old school. He immediately started to pace off its length and made a couple of sketches. The tentative dimensions he marked down on that day turned out to be very close to correct, as he discovered sometime later when he obtained the actual drawings. Isn't he like you? You there hiding behind your beer on the couch? Yeah, I see you. Just like you and you. I love this, man. Oh wow. Okay. When he returned home, he laid out a scale drawing at the first scale model. No, he laid out a scale drawing and then made the first scale model out of sheep brass, built from that illustration. The pronounced slope of the ends was the only noticeable deviation, but later on, working from the railroad drawings, remember his buddy C.C. Elms, It designed the more accurate scale model that Amreco brought out in 1936, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Amreco, right there, or the American Railroad Company, or something like that. Brought in 1936. This was the first ever made scale model GG1. A lot of cool history like that. As we're waiting for this to dry, let's talk a little bit more here. See, the crinkling is going away, so it doesn't look like I messed it up, and I don't have that feeling of panic and pooping in my pants anymore. As she dries, she'll level out. You may have little imperfections, but once you level all that out and you clear coating this stuff, that stuff goes away. But we'll be ready to we can just drop her down like this now. One little rabbit. Does that look better? Okay. So here we go. Let me see. More history of. Yeah, here's something I wanted to share with you guys. A little bit in all my little research I love doing. So are you just going to build the model and you're going to have the seller who sold it to you tell you, oh yeah, these things came out in the 30s, it was Ed Alexander, and then that's it? You found a treasure, a beautiful model from the 1930s, and that's all the history you're going to want to learn about it? You're going to do research and ask more questions and go to all these shows, people who are in the know. Why not? That's how I would want to do it. Check this out. I'm going to read this to you, okay? Now, I thought I was going to do just a plain, regular, a USRA type. Just letter it, paint it black, and ship it back to John. And John contacted me more than once. He has his heart set on this guy here, knowing that we got to take freedoms and artistic license in many areas of his painting, drawing, and arrangement of domes and stuff like that. But this is what he had his heart set on, the Pennsylvania Railroad type. And it's interesting because as I read, here is the first 4/4 type developed for old gauge by any manufacturer of scale models, and we are justly proud of its performance as well as perfect appearance. Okay, that's from Ed Alexander himself from his catalog. The original of this model was built about the original of this model, in other words, the real locomotive of this model was built about 35 years ago for the Minneapolis and St. Louis. That's 35 years ago in 1934, not 2025. And we have chosen this prototype because it is the most universal design for engines of this type that we could find. Thus, it can be lettered to represent most railroads, in parentheses, except Pennsylvania, which is what we're doing now. So we're between me and John Lyon, we're gonna push you guys to think and model way outside your comfort zone and out of the box to places you didn't think you were ever gonna do before. Isn't that cool? Have a couple cool old scale fellow colleagues pushing you along. So except the Pennsy, except Pennsylvania, which is what we're doing right now. And not deviate too much from the accuracy. Considerable numbers of this type of locomotive are still in service, especially on smaller roads and such larger systems as the Boston and Maine. They may be used as a prototypes for branch lines on the work train or similar services. If your road is limited in the radius of its curves, it is an ideal engine or locomotive to use, as it will negotiate curves which a Pacific cannot. And you know what? There's something to that, because look at the size of this doll. Okay, look at that as I move the tripod around. She's a good size. You're just gonna have one locomotive and a simple loop of track, just your little dream thing in the corner of your house. That's not a bad way to go. Okay, so all right. Let's see here. All right, guys, we'll end the video right about here. Thank you for joining me. We're gonna flip around this locomotive so you could see how she looks on the other side, because the other side has the completed and dry decals of where we're going with this. Let me set everything up for you all. All right, and then we're probably gonna call it a day. No music, signing out. We have used up way too much of your time and patience, but this is what me and John are shooting for, and I hope you guys like what you see. Let's take this thing off the tripod and get the camera nice and good. Come on, focus, focus. There we go. Remember how she looked when she came in, guys? Don't you want to do something like this? Isn't this why you work your butts off all your life? Now you're nearing retirement or have retired. Isn't this what you always wanted to do? Yeah, I talk too much, but listen to the freaking message I'm giving you guys. Come on, guys. Yeah. You know what? Your wife, your partner there. Maybe you think, she's too grouchy. I should have divorced her years ago. She ain't gonna let me build this. You know what? She probably would encourage you and get a kick out of it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Let me take a still pose here. This is the picture I will take and post as a thumbnail on this YouTube video. Thank you for joining me. You guys, I'll try and put out another video here in a couple days as we do more decal work. You guys have an amazing... Oh, John Lyon, if you're listening, please call me or text me so I have your phone number again. Since I have a brand new phone and my old phone completely died, I can't get any info out of it. I mean, it's dark. Nothing I do to get it on again. But thank you for joining me. You guys have an amazing rest of your week. But most importantly, you all have a blessed rest of your week. You all take care. Bye.